Well, hello, it's me, Paul, again, and this is a follow-up video for my Super 16 conversion of my Bolex H16Rx3. I covered that all in the last video, and it's kind of a little progress report. I have made some new parts. I made a new turret. This is the one I had made in the previous video, and so I went back in and I designed a completely new one based on the original Bolex design. Here it is. Here's the Bolex original one that came off the camera. So it's got the standard 3 holes, and so you can see that this is where there's a little like springy chrome plated piece of metal here that basically it keeps this centered and flat against the camera turret block here. And so it's got this single screw that holds the whole thing together. And so here's the points where this piece here connects. This is 2 studs go through here, and then a screw goes in here to hold it all together. And then the whole thing gets screwed on by this single flat blade. You know, I think it's like an M2 screw, and holds the whole turret on with a tiny little screw. And that's because it doesn't have to do a lot of work, because you have these rollers built in right here that hold it in position. And then you can also put a turret lock. If you're putting a larger lens like a zoom lens on, then you can put the turret lock on there, and it'll support a little more weight. You still have to be careful, but you know, that's what we have. So here's the front and the back of the turret. You can see there's some relief cuts, and then there's a little kind of a counterboard hole right here, and that's where it sits on that stud, that centering stud that centers these 3 lens mount holes. So, and then you can see there's a spring in here, okay, and then there's like a plunger inside a drilled hole, and then on the end here there's this whole thing, because it's spring loaded, can be pushed in and out, and so that's what locks it. So here's the extra, you know, front plate that I have. So it just goes on like so. Excuse my trying to do this while filming. Okay, there it goes. And so you can see that these little rollers are what keep it locked in position. You see, now it's locked. They're both locked together, and so just a single screw right here will hold it all together. Well, so what I did was I reverse designed the whole thing, and then I put the same slotted holes for the turret rollers. I guess that's what I'll call them. They're like little detents. And here's the one I had made, and it's 3D printed in aluminum. And then I had to do about 2 hours worth of finish work to it to get it looking like this. It comes in a raw aluminum, you know, it looks like a casting, like a die casting. And I believe that's how Bolex made Paillard made these mounts. I believe they're die cast, because this looks like a leather grain of some type, but it's actually cast right into the metal. So the only way I know of to do that would be to make a die cast mold and then injection mold it with actual aluminum rather than plastic or something like that. And then it could take on all these fine characteristics. The entire camera is die cast just like that. So that reduces the amount of machining that's required, because you only have to do the screw holes and final size the holes, and then do a little bit of machine work in the bottom of these pockets and make sure everything's sized the right way. But it's a very efficient and cost-effective way to make things, and that's what Bolex did. So that's kind of like, this is like the modern alternative, is to have it 3D printed in aluminum, a little bit oversized, which is what I did. I had this location here, I had it made 0.5 millimeter taller than the original one, and so this total thickness, I believe, is 4.3 from the bottom here to the top of the lens mount is 4.3 millimeters. So that's the total thickness of this item. And anyway, I'm going to put it together the rest of the way, and so my turret locks are working. They work exactly the same way. They're pinned with little tiny cross pins, little hollow pins that hold it right there, and then those pins stop this roller from coming out, so it floats in there. So it's got like a rod that goes in there with a little slot cut in it for this pin to ride in, and what keeps it straight is this slot where the roller sits, keeps it from twisting. So it's a very, you know, the Bolex engineers were amazing engineers for their time, and the fact they didn't use any computers of any kind, not even a pocket calculator would have been available when they first started making these things. So, you know, a room full of people with drafting boards and pencils and T-squares. I took 5 years of drafting from junior high school through high school, so I have a pretty good idea what it would have taken to draw something like this. I did a lot of mechanical drafting, and so I went back and did this in CAD. This is the original one off the S, so you can see that it has taller C-mount bosses, and the reliefs are deeper on the back side, you know, to reduce weight. So here's the OEM one here. You can see that the bosses are thinner. So the S didn't have, it was a non-reflex, so it needed taller bosses here to make the lens sit at the right distance from the film plane. So the film plane is marked right here with this little circle with a line through it. That will tell you exactly where the film plane is in the camera, so you can take your measurements and then set your focus. Even with a reflex camera with prime lenses, that's the recommended way to do it, is not just focus through the, you know, the viewfinder here. It's to focus using a tape measure for critical shots. Say you're within anywhere from 2 to 12 feet, you should be using a tape measure to, and even beyond that, you should be using a tape measure to measure your shots. That's how they did it back in the day, and if you notice, the older movies are probably sharper in focus with less takes because of that. They put marks on the floor, and the talent would have to hit their marks. And nowadays with video, they can just take, you know, 20 takes of the same shot and then cut it together, something that's more or less in focus without all the, you know, I'm sure they still do it like that in Hollywood, but these independent productions where they're on a tight schedule, they just keep doing takes till they, you know, till they have to move on to the next, you know, next part of the movie, next scene. So here's one that I had machined by PCBWay, and it came out pretty good. It doesn't have all the features, it doesn't have the relief cuts and all that, but the thickness is good. I had to take it down. I had to make it a little oversized, and I had to cut these threads myself with a big old 1" by 32 tap. Anyway, this is just a follow-up video. So the next thing I'm going to do is transfer this spring to the new part I made here. Is this it? Yeah, this one. And then put it all together, and it should be just like the old one, but I've moved the center of this hole out 1 millimeter so that these two are at the original position, so that I can still use the turret lock and all that. And the top one, really, I'll never get used. It's at the standard position, and I'm just going to keep a lens plug in there, body plug. And so this should be a perfect, and if it's not, then I'll go back to this one, because this one is perfect. It just didn't have all the features I wanted in it. I wanted to keep it as close to the original as I possibly could. So there it is. And this is just painted with a very thin, durable type of paint that I use all the time. And I sprayed it with texture paint just like I did the other one, and I masked off here so the texture paint wouldn't go there. And then I painted the whole thing black. I polished the edge with Jeweler's Rouge and a buffing wheel, so it's got that same shine as the original Bolex one. And it came out pretty good, so I'm pretty happy with it. And it's going on here in a minute. I just wanted to show it before I put it all together. And thanks for watching, and maybe I'll make a follow-up video after I shoot some film with the camera. And it's already loaded up with some 50D, a short end of 50D, about 30 feet of 50D. So I will go and shoot that maybe today or tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.